never stop dreaming. And I have learned I am strong, determined, and capable of just the job of anything.
People with developmental disabilities were once sequestered by the hundreds of thousands in institutions.
Many of our fellow citizens are suffering tremendously because lack of attention, lack of imagination, lack of adequate manpower.
Disability activists have since torn down barriers blocking them from living at home or in the community.
We conclude that Title II of the ADA requires states to provide community-based treatment for persons with mental disabilities.
But of the 16,000 people who remain in state-operated institutions, half are in 5 states, and Illinois is one of them.
I don't want to live in the institution. It makes me feel discriminated against.
Do you think there are people living in institutions in Illinois that don't need to be living there?
Yeah, because they're proving it as soon as they get out.
I love you.
And some families struggle to find resources that would help keep their loved ones at home.
Nobody could meet his needs.
I had to leave my job. My husband had to work 3 jobs.
I feel like my hands are being forced because I can't provide what he needs.
My name is Aaron Compton, and I am 19 years old. I am busy living an included life in the community, and my life is so fun. I have a new job working for the Chicago Cubs. I serve on the Illinois State Rehabilitation Council and have danced professionally. I am independent and want to live independently, but underfunding community living opportunities makes my independence almost a possibility. Illinois people with disabilities are not almost people. We are people. We are not broken people in a normal world. We are normal people in a broken world.
We had been told that the odds of her making it were very slim. She had a heart condition, she had an intestinal issue that needed surgery first day of life. Down syndrome was a long-term thing to even concern ourselves with. We just had to keep her alive. Erin was 2 days old. The social worker came into the hospital room and said, well, the good news is you can keep her while she's cute and little. And then when she gets too much, you just send her to the institution. At like 9 or 10 months old, we had a doctor want to do a very extreme procedure on her to install a feeding tube. His reasoning was that that way when she's in the institution, she'll always get the nourishment she needs. His view of what needed to be done was supposed to trump our view of as independent as possible.
We need inclusion back. We don't need segregation or discrimination.
There's been study after study after study that has shown that people do better academically, they do better with self-care, they have better overall outcomes, they're healthier, they're happier, et cetera, when they're in a community versus in an institution.
Given the number of people in institutions in Illinois, it must be cheaper to keep them there.
It is not. On average, it costs $360,000 per person annually to serve someone in a state-operated developmental center, whereas someone who lives in a community setting, say in a group home, it's closer to about $140,000 to $150,000 annually per person.
So less than half.
Considerably less expensive.
Good job.
Erin's family hasn't received any Medicaid funding yet to assist in her care.
If I had had $300,000 once in Erin's life, we could have done even more amazing things.
Have you ever felt that Erin would potentially be put in an institution?
All that would have to happen is that she developed diabetes, for instance, and she would not be accepted in most community living arrangements because of that. Right now, we don't have a place for high medical needs. It's on the parent, it's on the family. I had to leave my job. My husband had to work 3 jobs to try to maintain the finances. And at the time, we all of a sudden had these giant medical bills.
Through Medicaid, states are federally required to offer institutional care and some home services, but most home services are optional. States provide them through Medicaid waivers and can cap enrollment. Demand has vastly exceeded supply across the country.
Thousands of people with developmental disabilities in need of state support are stuck on a wait list here in Virginia.
On a decade-long wait list for disability
A
service.
combined 170,000 people waiting. Some have been on the list for 20 years.
Nationwide, KFF estimated almost 500,000 people were on wait lists in 2023. In Illinois alone, nearly 16,000 people wait as of February 2024. Erin was on one for 15 years, but getting off the list doesn't imply immediate services. At 19, she's still waiting. While some people may benefit from living in an institution and choose to stay there, Erin's family is one of 20 families CBS Report spoke to who fear an institution would harm their loved one and say their choices are limited.
So the administration takes a holistic stance in terms of making sure that we're investing our public funds in an array of services and supports for people with developmental disabilities.
With that, though, compared to almost every other state in the country, Illinois houses more people with developmental disabilities in large institutions or facilities and spends more operating those institutions. So why is that the case?
If you look at every indicator in Illinois, especially since Governor took office in 2019, we are headed in the right direction on every kind of data point. We have seen a declining percentage of people who are in our state-operated institutions, as well as very dramatic decreases in the number of people in our private institutions. So we're heading in the right direction for every indicator.
The Pritzker administration has put a historic amount of money into the IDD system over the past few years, no doubt. However, if you have a 6-foot hole and you put 2 feet of dirt in it, it's still not full. You're going to have to fill it up first before you can reap the benefits of having more.
Hey! You shaved! Who helped you?
What's up, man?
This is Ed. He's deaf and has an intellectual disability. He bounced between shelters, foster care, and residential group homes throughout his childhood. Due to limited choices, he's now living in a mental health center where his legal guardians, Laura and Ken Fine, check in with him regularly.
Hey, Ed, did you know that Ben scored a touchdown last Friday?
For my flag football game.
Good job. Good job, Benny. Yeah, I would beat you though.
I don't think so.
Maybe Ken. I'd probably beat Ken running.
Yeah, you probably
Wait a second, dude.
Yeah, you probably would, yes.
Hey.
Laura works in special education. She met Ed in one of her previous jobs, helping students with special needs transition into the community after high school.
I say this often, to know Ed is to love him. He has a great big giant personality, calls himself a big brother to the kids, especially my son.
He's really kind of improved our life by having him with us. It's been great for both of us.
Due to Ed's disabilities, he requires daily care. Laura and Ken have tried to find him non-institutional community housing, but they haven't found a place with adequate support.
It's been kind of a nightmare. He was in a supportive housing environment in an apartment. That really wasn't enough support. We tried a 4-person Scylla group home. That wasn't enough support. It was just lack of staff who knew sign. And so when you're frustrated or when he got angry, he couldn't communicate. And so when you can't communicate, the behaviors arise.
He's never had a behavioral issue when he's with us. Given the adequate supports, he could be successful.
We haven't been able to get the right amount of funding or support because we've been told that it essentially isn't there. It was recommended that we move him to an SODC.
In Illinois, state institutions are called SODCs, state-operated developmental centers. Ed was admitted to Mabley in April 2022 and was there for over a year.
It felt like a failure for me because I do this work professionally, and if I couldn't do it, how is anybody supposed to? Tell me, did you like living at Mabley?
Not really. No, I didn't like it.
What happened when you got hurt by that roommate and you needed stitches? Do you remember?
Yeah, he kind of blew up. Was fighting with us. They called the police, the firemen.
There's a level of trauma that Ed endured during his time in an institution. I'd never heard the term mechanical restraints. It's when you are tied from your feet and your arms to a bed. So the first time I got a call that Ed was restrained, the person on the other line chuckled and said, often we call this the welcome to Mabley restraint.
In 2023, Mabley had 2 citations from the Illinois Department of Public Health. One related to a nonverbal patient found with pelvic area bruising as if they had been kicked in the groin repeatedly. The department has since cleared the citations and said mitigation plans are in place. CBS Reports visited Mabley and couldn't speak to residents due to privacy concerns. But a Mabley representative said they are focused on transitioning people into the community and helping residents lead rich and empowered lives.
I certainly think that people that are a danger to themselves or real danger to themselves or to others obviously need to have some more sort of supervision, right, to make sure that they stay safe. I think what we're saying is it wasn't a place that we thought he should be, nor do we think anyone should probably be.
There were 200 state police investigations into employee misconduct at the 7 state-run institutions in Illinois since 2012. 22 of them led to convictions. The problem is also bigger than Illinois. People with developmental disabilities are abused across the country in all types of settings.
How does the state ensure the safety of one of the most vulnerable populations here?
Well, so first I would say that abuse and neglect is absolutely unacceptable and is not tolerated. The administration has increased the number of investigators by 10 last year. We've piloted and will be expanding the number of cameras that are in our residential facilities, and it will, I think, create more efficient investigations as well, and hopefully also prevent abuse and neglect.
He hated every minute of it. We hated every minute of it. Everybody deserves a chance to have the life that they want to live with the right supports to do so. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Stay safe, man.
I love you.
Love you.
Peace out, brother.
Give me 5. Come on. Come on. There it goes. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Thank you. He's really a bubbly, happy kid. He loves to watch SpongeBob. He loves President Obama. He watches their speeches all the time. He's just a happy kid. TJ was born at 24 weeks. He reached milestones, and at the age of 2 to 3, he started regressing a little bit. He was walking with assistance, and then all of a sudden, everything slowed down. By the age of 4, he kind of just wasn't doing anything. Now he's not able to tolerate any feeds. He's strictly IV medications, IV feeding. It's been kind of a lot.
What is his diagnosis?
cerebral palsy, epilepsy, chronic respiratory failure.
Octavia receives about $26,000 in Medicaid waiver funding for home service nurses, almost 14 times less than is spent on people in state-operated institutions. She needs a registered nurse, or RN, given TJ's needs, but she only has a licensed practical nurse, or LPN.
An RN can come in and draw his blood. They can administer his medications. They can mess with his line. I can leave the house if an RN is here. As opposed to an LPN being here, I have to be in the room with them. They can't touch his line, so I draw his blood. I administer all the medicine. But when I've had registered nurses come in to try to take this case, and they all say that the pay is too low.
We talked about there being a shortage in direct support professionals. That is a tsunami we've seen coming for 20 years. When there are not enough people in the workforce, then it makes it very difficult to assist people in moving out of those state-operated developmental centers into the community because there's not staff. Nursing is another area in which we're seeing the workforce is just really struggling.
The Pritzker administration has increased wages for nurses and direct support professionals, but no wage increase is budgeted for fiscal year 2025, despite higher costs of living. These numbers also don't reflect actual take-home pay. An LPN's rate is $45 an hour, but Octavia's LPN makes just over half that.
There are other considerations that we also need to invest in addition to frontline workers, which is like transportation, administrative support, other costs of running a business that they also need to see increases in.
Had there ever been a moment or a period of time where you thought, though, that he might end up?
I'm in that period of time right now because of lack of transportation for him. I have to book my own transportation, and I called a dozen ambulance companies trying to get him a ride, and everybody said the same thing. We don't no longer do home pickups.
What do you think would happen to him if he was institutionalized?
I don't think he would make it. I don't know. The love that he gets at home is different from what he could receive in the hospital. I strongly believe that he's here because of the love that he gets.
Thank you for being with us for Miss Amazing 2024. Miss Amazing was founded in 2007 by Jordan Summer. She wanted to provide opportunities to girls and women with disabilities in a supportive environment. Show your muscles pose, everybody, because we're strong women and girls.
You guys have worked really hard on learning to become good roommates.
So
That's
sometimes mine and Rachel's problems is boundaries. Let's take today for instance. You know the comment you made earlier?
Oh, yeah.
I took my time, put my stuff away, and I went to my room for my time. You respect my boundaries. You knocked before you came in. And you know what? I couldn't be prouder of you.
Go find.
Oh, Rach, you're so awesome. And you know what? I am so blessed to be the perfect roommate for you. Both of my roommates. I forgot about Ruth in the middle.
What makes you really happy?
Being with these two.
Being with your roommates?
Yeah.
20 years ago, Rachel's parents bought this house intending to turn it into a group home for her. At first, they chose to use an agency to manage the group home, but the agency said Rachel needed 3 roommates for it to work, but she only had 2.
My friend Gina said after 2.5 years of waiting for a roommate, for 4 roommates to come along, why can't we just do this ourselves? It's the most amazing situation that has evolved.
So it's how much?
1 cup.
Right.
Sharon and the staff at this house have created an alternative community housing option, funding it in part with their Medicaid waiver. They essentially act as their own agency, providing 24/7 care to the 3 women based on each of their own personal choices.
What made us finally take this step? It was fear of what the future holds, because there is not a parent of a kid with a disability out there who does not ask this question: what's going to happen when I'm gone? You have 70% of the individuals with disabilities are still living at home. 25% of those parents are over 65. It's brutal. So we're really getting old. The whole group is getting old. And the only thing that you can do if you want to create something that's flexible in Illinois, you need a network.
If you could design a place, a home for people with disabilities, what would that look like?
Like this, with like the stuffed bubbles. We love our stuffed bubbles because it's small, it's intermediate. We have special connections with each one of them separately.
Does this system, though, have the capacity to support individuals with more medically complex disabilities?
It needs to. They have no place to go right now. Someone who's got behavior issues or someone who's got significant medical challenges, we need to find a way to address those needs. They want more choices. We all need choices. It's a civil rights issue.